Hello, everybody. Ron Callis coming to you again with another episode of Automation Unplugged, brought to you by One Firefly. That's my day job. I'm even sporting my my handy Automation Unplugged t-shirt today. There you go. A few of you have those. I think we gave those out actually at our recent trade show event, or maybe we gave those away at CEDIA. And today is, what is today? Today's Wednesday, February 21st. So thank you very much for joining me for another episode. And I am excited to bring to you a bit of an industry celebrity here in Joey Kolchinsky. Let me go ahead without further ado and bring him on. Joey, how you doing, sir?
Doing great, but definitely not a celebrity. But thanks, Ron.
Man, you're writing articles and you're teaching and presenting. You're all over the place. That's awesome. But you're trying to move mountains.
Trying to move mountains. That's right. Trying to move mountains.
Trying to move mountains. All right. Let me jump over to Facebook real quick here. We are streaming live. If you are out there, please like this stream. Like it, comment, share it so that we can get the word out. And there you are, Jesus. Thanks for the like. Appreciate that, sir. And if you're out there watching us live, or even you're after the fact, please throw down a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know what your thoughts are. And hey, there's Jason. Hey, guys. Hey, Jason. Thanks for watching, sir. Appreciate that. And let's jump right into it, Joey. So for those of you that aren't aware, Joey is the fearless leader, founder, and CEO of OneVision Resources. And Joey, what is OneVision Resources? What would be an explanation of the company for those watching that may not be familiar with you?
OneVision is a service platform for integrators that supercharges their service efforts and leads their service departments with best practices in culture and technology and business process in order to become technology managers for their families.
Awesome. So I want us to go into that business. You are out there really trying to, my observation, having been in the industry for a bit, what your company is doing is really on the cutting edge, and it's really touching one could even call it a sore spot of what my observation is lacking.
Yeah, a little bit,
right? Touching an area of the CI industry that is maybe not as paid as much attention to as it should by many business owners. And so I want to peel the layers back on that. But before we get there, I always like to introduce or learn more about you as a person and kind of where you come from. How did you land in this industry? What brought you here and what's given you the fortitude to really continue to persist and work so hard and really inspire others with your inspiration of what you guys are doing to change the industry. I'd like my audience to know a little bit more about you. So if you don't mind, can you give us some of that background?
Sure. Yeah, brief background. I'll try to keep it brief. I'm not known for that.
No, you don't have to be brief. Add color to it.
Yeah.
Run with it.
So, I started as a teenager in the tech support field. My first client was a really wealthy family in the Boston area. And this individual had hired me to rip all of his CDs to MP3s because he had one of the first iPods. So it was a great gig, $15 an hour back in 2001, better than Starbucks, but really only works if you're living with your parents. So I don't recommend anyone try that. But it started there, and this client kept asking me to continue to service and address more technology needs for him, and gave me the opportunity over the next several years to really learn and understand what it meant to be his technology concierge. That's what we called it back then. We didn't really have a good name for it. And fast forward to 2008, I had serviced this family through high school and through college And I learned to be available all the time, instantly responsive, and incredibly empathetic, right? They didn't want me to get lost in the technical weeds. And so in 2008, I decided to start doing this full time, and this family introduced me to a bunch of their friends and family, and I had several clients. That was the start. But before I knew it, I am being pretty responsive and available all the time to several families, and that became pretty taxing. It was really hard to keep up with. And so I started charging some form of recurring revenue back then in order to figure out a way to make this model work. And so from 2008 to 2015, I had experimented with all different forms of recurring revenue. And throughout that process, I had also become an integrator. These same clients had said, your IT support is really great. It's great that you're so responsive. Can you also really start taking care of my AV things? I mean, my computer needs and all that stuff is great that you're doing that. But I hired this integrator to build the system, and they're not really that responsive. So can you do it? And so I started supporting and installing AV things, and backed into this industry and started building smart home systems. And by the end of 2015, I had two distinct groups within the business. One was a traditional integrator with project managers, engineers, designers, installers, programmers. And the other was our service department. And the integration group looked like a traditional integration group, but the service department was really special. We had created a service operation with 40 families, where each family was paying on average $2,500 a month for us to manage all of their technology. And so we had $100,000 a month in recurring revenue coming in on the first of every month. And all we had was 4 people servicing those clients. It was an incredibly profitable business, not a very scalable one, right? It's very, very high-end, high net worth. But it had given us a glimpse into what people would be wanting. So, you had people who had a lot of technology, you had people who had, therefore, a lot of tech support needs, and they also had the money to pay for the best type of service of their technology. And so we had simply sort of tapped that market, and it gave us a glimpse of what the future would be like. And so that's why in 2015, we shut down the integration group and took all the lessons that we learned from the service side of the business and built this platform in order to partner with the best integrators in the industry who really saw the forward-thinking integrators who could really see that service was the future, and that they too were sitting on what is effectively a gold mine of clients who all have increased demands for better support and are willing to pay for it, and see the need to modernize their business to become more sustainable and more in tune with what their clients are asking for. And so that's what we enable. And we enable it by doing their tier 1 remote support for them on their behalf. We pick up the phone and with the integrator's name, and we use their branding. And we then do all the marketing and sales of all of the recurring revenue for them on their behalf. We spin up all the technology systems behind the scenes, the ticketing systems, the on-call management systems, and we manage all of it for them so that overnight they can effectively become an incredible service operation for their clients.
So what was it like when you spun up the integration business and you're collecting recurring revenue? And it sounds like for you that was a pretty logical way to proceed and provide that level of service. You needed, regular money to pay talented, smart, expensive members of your staff to take care of those customers. At least that sounds like that's how you came to that decision to charge some monthly money to do that. And when you'd go to, say, a CEDIA and you talked to your industry peers, and I'm betting they looked at you funny when you said you were doing that. Was that your experience?
Yeah, for sure. I had two things that made me really weird back then. One was all this recurring revenue that seemed very normal to me. And I had started doing that maybe 5 years before I read my first CE Pro magazine, right? I didn't even quite appreciate this industry existed. Even when I started becoming an integrator, I learned to terminate Cat 5 using YouTube, right? Like I just really didn't know what I was doing. I had to figure everything out from scratch. But when I would start to sit down in industry venues and engage with, my new peers, I would say things like, yeah, we're experimenting with not marking up on hardware. We just found that was a more, it was an easier discussion with the client, and I would say that not knowing what kind of bomb I was dropping, right, in those conversations. And it would spark all sorts of debate. And I was definitely labeled, in a few different ways. But nothing short of innovative, that's for sure, right? We were always trying new concepts, new approaches. And we wrote a whole case study internally on all the different things that we tried on how to deliver valuable services to clients in a way that they are interested and willing to pay for them, so that we could become sustainable and profitable. And eventually we figured it out, right? But you had to try all these different things. But for sure, it created a lot of interesting discussion.
I want to touch on that bomb there for a minute. So you experimented with no markup on product, but yet charging the service or the maintenance plan. And if you did that, what sort of net profit, if you're willing to disclose, was possible in such a circumstance?
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I would say that, everybody would sort of think like you're undercutting others or something like that. And that actually wasn't it. If you look at the average integration job, let's just take an integration project that's for round numbers, let's call it $10,000. And usually in the integration business, it's, let's say, $6,000 or $7,000 of hardware and $3,000 or $4,000 of labor. And then all I did was flip that. I just didn't mark up on the hardware, but I charged a lot more for our labor hours. So we just passed through the cost of hardware at, let's say, $3,000 or $4,000, and then we charged a lot for our service. And what that did is it showed the client that our incentives were aligned, right? I told the client, I was like, look, I need to make the money I need to make in order to make this a profitable job for my team. But I don't really care if you're buying the 100-inch TV or the 60-inch TV. It might take us a little longer to install the 100-inch TV. We might need a more expensive mount, and we'll certainly need a more expensive TV, but we're happy to do whichever one you think is best for you. Don't feel like we're pushing one or the other your way. And so it just aligned, the conversations. But the cost of the project was the same. It was still a $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 project. It's just that the way that we got to that number was more aligned with how the client wanted us to behave, right? And not try to push hardware on them in one direction or the other. Naturally, I think the industry is actually already trending in this direction anyway, at least in the sense that hardware margins are naturally compressing. And everybody, I think, is seeing the need to differentiate on quality of service and spend the time it takes to do the job properly. And that means that we're all starting to charge more for our labor hours anyway. And so the industry is naturally progressing in that manner.
So what inspired you to go from being an integrator with a successful service model, the technology concierge model, to wanting to help the industry at large, or provide this, or build a company that was capable of servicing the industry at large and empowering integrators to adopt or adapt to this method of thinking and operating? Like than the mechanics, like what made you want to do that versus just, printing money in Boston?
It was tapping potential. I mean, so look, there's two reasons. One is very selfish. I wanted to build a scalable business, right? I really personally struggled with building a business that was key man dependent on myself. And I didn't want that from a personal perspective. I really wanted to build something that could live without me. The irony in that is that we actually are helping every integrator solve that problem today, right? And, so we found a way to actually help the whole industry, and that tapped into the other reason why I'm doing this is because the potential for everybody. I want this industry to reach the potential that it has. It is sitting on a gold mine of opportunity, and this is not a matter of whether retail, like we've historically talked about, retail is going to take over or DIY is going to take over, and I don't believe in any of that. I think that there's an opportunity for this industry to become the future technology manager of the market, and I see a future where every connected homeowner is going to be paying some form of a monthly fee for ongoing marketing, or ongoing monitoring, management, and support of all of their technology systems, and not just their home systems, but their computers, their mobile devices, their services. Just there's going to be a single point of contact, and we call that person a technology manager. And I think there's no better industry to become that provider than this one. Of course, we continue to design and engineer and install awesome systems. That has to happen. But the additional value that's there, the additional potential that we could capture and develop into, is this idea of becoming a technology manager. And I am dead set on just helping this industry go see that through.
So Joey, Hagai from Access Networks is watching. He just said, yo. So I think that's
Hagai. Yo.
As in, yo, Joey, I'm watching. You got good stuff. Keep it up. Joey, can you expound on, Hagai said agreed, what you perceive as this gold mine that integrators are sitting on? And I'm just going to shed, my perspective is that integrators often, and many of them, are simply going from job to job, winning the new job, excited to get out of the last job, sometimes struggling to get the job done to 100%. They're so excited to get on to the next job. And therefore, this customer base that for some dealers, and I'm going to say maybe the majority of dealers, is not often touched or serviced. And you have this perspective that, guys, that's where all the value is. Hagai, by the way, just commented. He said, trust equals a gold mine.
Yep.
So can you expound on kind of your perspective? Because I'm going to say for the industry at large, it's a more of a unique perspective. And by the way, I believe in what you're saying. I just would like you to put it into words, and maybe we can convince some people listening that it's something they should be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're entering the age of the relationship economy, right? This is where people are making their decisions based on the relationship they have with their service providers. And, as Hagai said, the trust that they have, that trust is gold. And, as a little anecdote, when our old business, the reason why we sort of entered into the integration side of the business is because my old service group, whenever they would get the opportunity to do a smart home project, and we were doing six-figure systems, it never went out to bid with our existing clients. Our existing clients just said, hey guys, by the way, we're building a new house and you know what we need. Go ahead, just tell us what needs to be done, and yep, we'll sign whatever, here's the check. It was just a non-issue, and that ranged from small projects to large projects. So, that I think is emblematic of the idea that trust is gold, and it really leads to everything else. To sort of put it into numbers, I think that, a good example is if you take a project that's $50,000, and we have to have whole teams of people to engage in that project. We have all sorts of costs related to it. And for a good, healthy integration company, you get to between 10 to 20% of net margin. That's $5,000 to $10,000 of profit on that project, with a lot of work that goes into achieve that profit. And if we also assume that those clients are going to end up paying something on the order of $100 a month for service, then and we sort of use the experience that OneVision has. And by the way, the $100 a month comes from experience. We currently see this playing out. Our average membership fees that all of our partners, all of our integrators are out there selling is on average $125 per month per home. And if you sort of use that average and use the experience we have from our legacy business, where our clients were with us for several years and they're still with that team and they're not going anywhere, the churn is incredibly low. Okay, let's say they're with you for 10 years. That's about 120 months paying about $100. That's another $10,000 in value. And that's just the recurring revenue. Never mind all the service revenue that comes from it, all the little upsells that come with it, all of the small projects that come with it before you get to the next big project.
Just staying in connection with your customer and the fact that they build a new house or they add a new wing or you name it.
Yeah. And in that recurring revenue, if designed properly, should be incredibly high margin. And so if you buy into that idea that, you're able to on average push those kinds of numbers and get $10,000 of additional lifetime effectively profit, incredibly high margin revenue on top of everything else. I mean, you've now doubled, tripled, quadrupled the value of that client, right? And really leveraged, your sales force and your sales team. And so, we talk to integrators every day who have, let's say, a 10-person operation. They're doing a couple $1 million in business. They have, maybe $200,000 in profit every year if they're healthy, maybe a little bit more. And you ask them what their client base looks like. They have 500 clients that they've done business with over the last several years and that they continue to engage with. If you invest in converting those clients into that, that lifetime service relationship we talked about, again, let's take, 500 clients paying $100 a month, gets you to $50,000 a month times 12, gets you to $700,000 a year, $600,000 a year in high margin revenue and really healthy, sustainable business. That just tripled your net profit without adding all of the additional overhead, right? That's what I mean by the gold mine, right? There is so much potential for this industry. And we don't have to go seeking tons of new projects to reach it. Of course, keep doing that, right? We want to enable our partners to all go and do tons of new projects and hit it out of the park. But there's also all of this service opportunity. And the best part about it is when the economy swings one way or the other, the service revenue is usually the most stable. And your company has a much better chance of riding through that, through those swings when you have a really healthy service base, as opposed to just being dependent on projects.
When we talk about opportunity, what percentage of and I'm going to be specific here, say the residential CI custom integration marketplace is currently leveraging their customer base with profitable service plans in some capacity? Do you have some guesses around how well you think that's being done today?
I know there were some. There was a study recently done. I'm blanking on who the journalist was. The strategy publication that's out there. He had interviewed several integrators across the industry, and actually he was writing
residential
a piece for
systems.
Yeah, well, he was writing a piece for residential systems. I'm blanking on the individual, but I know one of our listeners would probably pipe up with the name Ted Green. That's his name, Ted Green.
Sure.
So Ted Green, was writing a piece for Resi Systems, and he went out to on RMR, on the status of the state of RMR in the industry, and he went out to go and interview all the integrators across the country, or a lot of them, right, a representative sample. I mean, and he found that almost nobody was really making a significant attempt, and either they just didn't think it was a big deal for them, or they were making the attempt, but it wasn't making a big enough dent to really matter, and it hadn't taken full hold within the company. And so it prompted him to really dig deeper and try to understand what was happening. And I think the latest numbers from CEDIA came back to, I think they're approaching 8 or 10% of the market is actively pursuing and making any, progress of any reasonable amount on RMR. So, but I think it's, to be clear, by the way, Ron, I don't think it's all about the RMR. It's really, the question should probably be broadened, who is making, an active attempt to transform their business to lead with service. Whether or not it really results in RMR is a different story. But the important critical component is the business service oriented and service focused.
So how does an integrator that's maybe been operating, whether they were born, a couple different questions just popped into my head. One is, how does an integrator that's been operating a certain way, let's say not a service-oriented entity or operation, how do they go about becoming a service-oriented? How do they make that pivot? I mean, do they read a book?
Yeah.
Do they go to attend a seminar? Do they call you and your team and chat about it? Or how do they go about making that change?
Yeah, it's So there's the I just have to get this one out of the way just to get out of the way. Of course, give us a call and talk to OneVision. We would love to engage in that. So now that we've put that to the side, if you're not going to talk to us,
never be shameful about promoting your business, man. Anyone that knows me knows I do it at all costs.
Yeah, I just wanted to state the obvious. So that's obvious. But that aside, so I'll sort of go from there into the next layer. So everything that we talk about, we blog about. It's on our website. Go and we're an open book. We really want to see this whole industry rise to the occasion and take advantage of this opportunity. How do you do it? I mean, we are currently teaching courses at Mark Sachowski and Frank White's Tech Summits this coming spring and fall, specifically devoted to how to actually execute on this service. I think the industry as a whole has sort of figured out, okay, we need to act. Service is important, and now the industry is starting to dig into how do we actually make this change. That question can be answered in a few different ways. Number one, I would always start with why, right? This is a classic Simon Sinek thing at this point that has permeated our culture. And, ask, why are you doing what you do? Is it to, get the latest technology into homes? Or is it to create an awesome service experience? Or is it to make sure your clients are always happy? Or pick your why, find it, and anchor on it. And my guess is, based on most conversations I've had with integrators, that the why is anchored around the client, and it is all about creating a better experience for the client. And now keep that question, keep it really close to you as you now go and evaluate every component of your business. Are you selling with that? Right? Are you selling with service? Are you starting with the concept of I challenge integrators to go and experiment with this concept. I think it's a worthy experiment to try. Try it maybe on your friendliest clients first. But next time a client asks you to come in and talk about a project, try to pivot that conversation as quickly as possible to service and see what happens. It's like, yeah, great. I'm here to talk about the design and engineering of your system and to create an awesome tech experience within your home. That's wonderful, but really let's focus also on service, because what you're really hiring us for is to actually manage that experience and ensure that it's always there for you and it's always operating at full potential for the life of your experience at the house. And please evaluate us as much as you evaluate the technology and make your decisions on maybe the products that are going in the tech experience you're going to have. Evaluate us also on service and what that means, right? And that you'll be surprised, right? Clients will actually come out and start sharing and saying, you're right, my tech doesn't always work. It's foolish to think it always will, and it's frustrating when my existing integrator is not there for me. And, let's talk about that. And you'll find that the sale now changes. Your sales process changes. Okay, will your engineering and design process change? If everything is really about a better service experience and a better ongoing experience, then do you start integrating RSM devices, platforms and tools into your projects? And it keeps going from there. What is the project to service handoff, right? Are you at OneVision, for example, we preach the idea that when the client starts using their technology, we call this day one. When they start using their technology, even if the system is barely finished and there's a punch list, a mile long, they are now a service client. Don't have them call the project manager. The project manager is not always there. Have them start calling your service team right away on that first day. If all they have is the family room and the TV in the family room is up and running and the rest of the system is still getting finished while they're moving in, great, they're now a service client, and treat them that way, right? So go through your whole business and every process you guys have and ask, am I, matching this process try to match it up with your why. And that will probably lead you to some incredible evolutions within your business.
Joey, Andy says this is great content. He just made a post. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. Remember, if you're out there watching us and you want to ask Joey questions live, at least for the next little bit here, we are live. So if you post a question, you can get a live response from Joey. Joey, in terms of your business, OneVision Resources, can you go through the mechanics now? How does it work when someone engages your business? What's the nature of that relationship? What are you doing for them, and what are they expected to do, and what can they expect your operation to do for them?
Sure. So, for us, it's all about cultural alignment. We are not necessarily looking to partner with every integrator out there. We know that there are a select few integrators who really understand that service is their future. And, they base their why in service and the service experience. As a result, it all starts, frankly, with us getting to know one another. And, as much as, our potential customers are, or we call our customers partners, as much as our potential partners are evaluating and they're going to be an addition to our family and our partner network. So it starts with some pretty in-depth conversations, and in many cases, we actually fly our potential partners out to our offices and we host them here for a day, for an evening and a day to see our operation, to see what's going on, to explore everything and get a really great feel for what it's like. And that gives us an opportunity to get to know them. When we move forward and start working together, we have an onboarding process of 2 to 3 weeks where we match you up with our partner development team, which is a team of former integrators and professional trainers whose full-time job it is to simply develop the best processes for service in your business and then help teach and train them and implement them within your business. We will do a lot of video calls doing the system setup and the training of your team. We'll fly out to your offices and spend time in your offices, depending on the situation. And we'll, get down to the nitty-gritty of also just importing a lot of your data and making sure that, there's a good system link between us and between our team and your team. Our basic support team really becomes an extension of your team. By the end of that onboarding process, you really feel like, wow, these guys are just down the hall from us. We don't see them every day, but we talk to them all the time and we're engaged with them every day, and they've really become a part of our company. And then we, start actually providing service and support. So on day one of working with us, all of your service and support is funneled into our operation. And we immediately elevate the experience for all of your clients. Every phone call, every email, we work with your team to show them the best ways to forward things to us, or properly take messages from clients and set expectations that the basic support team will get back to them. From there, we also begin the education and marketing process to start to change the expectation your clients have of what service means, right? You can't do that cold turkey. You can't sort of rip the carpet out from under your clients and say, today everything's changing and you all have to start paying money for something different. You really need to engage with your legacy clients and sort of walk them through the changes that we're about to be implementing and giving them some time to process. And so we develop all of those campaigns, and our own service team educates your clients, and engages in that conversation whenever your clients call or email in. And we basically draw a line in the sand. And after a couple months from that point, all of your clients are now in this new service environment. They are all acknowledging the terms of service that we've set up with your company. They all are choosing a membership, and you now start bringing in the recurring revenue, and we start writing you a check every month. And I think the best part about this is it's all turnkey. Right. So, really, you don't have to bring anything to the table other than, frankly, your energy and commitment. And, the commitment is just to an excellent service experience. We'll take care of everything else and start writing you a check at the end of every month.
Wow. So a dealer, if they partner with you and you really partner with each other, sounds like you're as selective about who you partner with as them evaluating you. It happens and it's reciprocated. Yep. And the end of those partnerships is the dealer has money coming in the door in some volume, I guess, based on your success at getting their customer base sold into memberships. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we have a handful of partners who are now actually making more money than they pay us. So it's really cool to actually see it net out that way. And we expect that for everybody. I mean, the whole business and pricing model is set up to do that. And it's important though to remember that even without the recurring revenue, the value that's being created between the two organizations is incredible, right? So all of our partners have an incredible competitive edge on everybody in their marketplace, because they're able to just say with confidence, hey, look, we provide this level of service and support. And we actually implement a process within all of our partners where at the end of every project, all clients are given a complimentary membership that guarantees an elevated level of service and support for a certain period of time. So they can confidently make these statements and know that they're following through on them when they're meeting with architects or builders or clients. Their team is way happier because on day one, all of the clients, all of the support calls are coming to us, all the emails are coming to us. So work-life balance is immediately improved. And we've even seen our partners be able to hire much better because they can now recruit with this benefit, right? And say, hey, you're probably burning out over at that company, but come join our company where we don't really have burnout like that. Their operational efficiencies have gone through the roof, right? Because again, all these people who are not getting distracted with service and support during the day, the salesperson is able to focus on sales. The owner, the founder, owner of the company is able to focus on being a CEO. The project manager can focus on finishing projects, and the techs that are out in the field can focus on actually doing the billable work that's in front of them, right? And not get distracted, by all sorts of fires that are inevitably coming up every day. So all of that value is generated, and we haven't even gotten to the recurring revenue and the long-term benefits that we work on. So this is really, really transformative, right? And any integrator who really believes that service is the future and is already engaging, the company and sees the opportunity to redefine their relationship with their client, is probably a good fit to connect with us.
Now, I know that you guys are also cooking up a conference. And can you tell me about the purpose of that conference and what is the tentative time frame for when that's going to take place? And who should attend?
Yeah, so along the lines of us just believing that the whole industry has massive opportunity in front of it, whether or not you partner with OneVision, we want everybody to really see the future and see the opportunity and go after it with service. And so in that vein, we've launched the Insight Summit. The Insight Summit is a conference focused exclusively on service and the technology and the culture and the business process behind service and all the changes and new ideas that are out there or required to make in order to make that conversion within your business, or in order to enable your business to become more service oriented. So this conference brings in a lot of industry outsiders, because one of the other amazing things about service is we are not the only industry that has gone through this problem. There are many other industries that have capitalized on service, potential and have gone through this transformative process and have built service into their models. And there's a lot to learn from them. So we have some excellent speakers lined up from a variety of different companies outside this industry. We have people lined up to speak on some really engaging topics about what service means for the company or for your company as an integrator. And we encourage anyone from service technicians to service coordinators and service managers to the CEO or the operations people within your organization to attend the summit. And I would go so far as to say, if you have to pick one, choose to send your service manager over the CEO. I'd rather see your service manager here, because they're going to become our goal is to empower them to become the champion of this cause within your organization. And that's what we'll focus on with this summit. So it's insightsummit.com. The number 1 is in place of the I, so Insight Summit with the 1 at the beginning instead of an I.
Got it. Now, Joey, I'm cognizant of everyone's time here. We've been on for 39 minutes. That's a few minutes over what we typically produce here, although it's been great content. So I know I've been listening and learning. For those that are watching and they want to know next steps, how can they learn more about your company? How can they talk to you or a member of your team? What would be the best channels of communication?
Our website is perfect. If you go to www.onevisionresources.com, all spelled out, and reach out to us through there. And if you ever see me at an industry conference, we're lined up to attend just about every single one for the rest of the year. Please stop me in the halls. Our teams will be visible, and strike up a conversation. Even if all you want to do is use us as a sounding board, we're here for you and want to strategize with you and engage in the discussion.
Awesome. Well, I know that I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks out in Nashville at the ProSource event.
Yep.
And are you a few weeks after that is the As You Own Unlimited event? Are you going to be there as well?
Yeah, our team will be there as well. Yep. And then a couple of weeks after that at HDSA as well.
Wow, you guys are all over the place, man. That's fantastic. Well, Joey, I want to thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy man. You're moving mountains, as they say. So your time is pressed. So thank you for being so generous and joining me on the show. That was great to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, folks. Well, that wraps up episode number 35 of Automation Unplugged. And maybe give us a comment. Tell me if you want one of these Automation Unplugged t-shirts. We'll see if we can't get those out to a select few of you. These are prized possessions. But anyway, I want you guys to have a great rest of your week. Remember how your day goes, how your week goes, and how you react to what happens. That's all a choice that you make. So make it a great day. Make it a great week. And I will see you next time. I will see you next week on the next episode of Automation Unplugged. And until then, ciao. Have a great time. Be well.